Hi, Roberta here. So when I made my video yesterday, I said I would put some journals on as soon as I had some new ones, and I kind of forgot that I actually had a couple tucked away, so I'm going to add those as well. This is a travel journal, although people could use it for whatever they wanted. And it's a kind of a collaged cover using a variety of elements from Stampin' Up! And some stamps I've had so long I don't even know where they came from, and a digital kit from Victoria Designs, I believe. The cover is just a craft cardstock cover, but it's a real thick craft cardstock, and unfortunately I haven't been able to find more of it. On the inside cover, I almost always have a pocket. So here's the pocket stamped. It's an actual library pocket. I was lucky enough to obtain a box of those years ago when a school library cleaned them out for some reason. And I made a tag using a pre-purchased tag and a piece of ephemera from somewhere, I honestly don't remember where, and a journal card. So again, for my friends or viewers who are newer to journaling, there are people who love having their journals filled up with things like this to the point where there's almost nothing else, and they just enjoy looking at them. Some people will have no pages for writing on, as I do, but then they will use the backs of all of these tags and other things to write on. So they're almost like a secret place to write instead of writing in a book, and you can write smaller things. So, to each his own, whatever works for you. This is just a piece of scrapbook paper that I put in mostly for color, but it can certainly be journaled on, or a photograph could be put on top of it. Again, whatever you want. I love to put some book pages. Usually they're pretty old books. This one is. I did not distress this. It is yellow by just naturally yellow. And some people will actually cover these up with something. So maybe they print off a quote from the internet that they like and they'll just glue it right on top. I'm certainly not offended by any of that. The paper is just regular copy paper, but it's a pretty heavyweight copy paper that has been dyed in coffee. And then I put tabs on, and sometimes the tabs are really just a piece of ephemera. This is a ticket of some kind that I folded in half. This is another printable element, and some more coffee dyed paper. This is some fairly vintage ledger paper. I wouldn't call it antique. I would say it's probably from the 60s or 70s. And I put that in as well. Some people like to write on it because it has lines and you can actually write on those lines. Again, some people will just glue something on top. More of that printable kit. A vintage map, and this is an old map for sure. And I folded it, made a little pocket, and this is a journal card or a pocket card. I believe this one is from Ephemera's Vintage Garden. Some more scrapbook paper that I just used an edge punch on. Again, you can write on that side. Here's a little corner pocket, and it's got I think this was an element from this same kit that I just sort of goofed when I printed it and made it too small. So it just becomes a little journal spot. And this is a tag that you could also write on. A piece of fabric on the coffee dyed paper to serve as a tab. This is vintage 1970s job work order forms. And these are just some envelopes from the dollar store. This is a small calendar that could be used, or could just be used as a piece of ephemera. It's an undated calendar, so it would be fine for any time. And as you can see, I just put the envelope in the center signature and turned that into a place to put some more journaling cards or ephemera. More coffee dyed paper. The other half of that scrapbook paper, the other half of that map page, which in this case is what I call a flip out. And so the purpose of this again is just to have it in here if you like to look at it. If you happen to be from any of the places on this map, this part here shows the east coast of the United States. Up here we've got some upstate New York, Albany, the Adirondack region, Tupper Lake, so that might have some meaning for some people. Or you can just glue something on top of it. Another element from that printable kit, kind of a steampunk thing going on there. Another tab on the other side of that, ledger paper. Here is a darker piece of coffee dyed paper. When I coffee dye my paper, there's just no way of knowing how it's going to turn out, so sometimes it has some interesting markings on it. And the other half of the book page and the scrapbook paper, and then in the back I just made a little kind of a belly band and took an element from that kit as well and just made a small notebook so that if you wanted to pull this out of your journal and take it with you to write some things down in there. Here's kind of an example of how some of the coffee dyed paper comes out with some very interesting markings on it, and there's just no rhyme or reason to it sometimes. And then I just tuck this in the back so you've got a little something that can come out and go with you. So again, you know, just for people new to journaling, never ever think that you have to write in a journal every day and that if you don't, you've been a failure, because you're not. If it takes you 6 months or a year to fill up this journal, so be it. It doesn't really matter. Put the dates in there and you'll know when it happened. You don't have to have a specific journal for a month or a year. It's up to you. I know people who go back and forth between journals depending on their moods. That might make me crazy to have 1 year spread out in 4 or 5 different journals, but obviously some people are not bothered by it. So this is another journal, and I will post this both in my group and on the in the YouTube group. Sorry, I'm not finding my words today for whatever reason. So thank you very much for having a look. I will include a price on this when I put it in the group.